In February of 2023, I decided to pick up a stupid little challenge involving one of my favorite games. The idea was to beat the entirety of Portal 1 with one big catch. I had to play through the game from start to finish, using nothing but my own voice. The journey was grueling, tedious, and incredibly frustrating at times, but after about 7 hours of playtime, I did manage to pull it off.
Yes! Oh my god!
And when I released an in-depth 52-minute video about the challenge back in June of 2023, well, that was the end of it, as far as I was concerned. But over time, there still remained a very curious question that lingered in the back of my mind. Because while I'd like to say that my work here was done, there's just one slight problem with that. Portal has a sequel. So the question was, is it possible to beat Portal 2 using only voice commands? Clearly, that would be ridiculous. Portal 1 has 18 maps, and remember, that game took me about 7 hours to beat, performed over the course of 5 separate days. Portal 2, on the other hand, has a staggering 62 maps to run through. Yeah, that wasn't happening. That sounds like a meme run. Portal 2 with voice commands. How stupid. Right? Before we actually get started with the challenge, I need to explain how it works again first. In order to actually play the game with only my voice, I'm using a program called Voice Attack. Voice Attack allows me to map voice commands to all necessary in-game actions. Moving, jumping, crouching, firing portals, you name it. I already went through the trouble of setting up all those commands for my Portal 1 voice control challenge, and they'll be exactly the same here. What will also remain the same are my rules and restrictions for this challenge. To recap, voice commands that perform more than just one single action are banned. Or in other words, one voice command can only correspond to pressing one button on my keyboard or mouse at a time. And secondly, glitches aren't allowed either. These restrictions are in place in order to prevent the challenge from being a little bit too easy. And that's pretty much it. If you need more information on my setup for this challenge and its rules, I highly recommend referring to the beginning of my Portal 1 voice control challenge video. Alright, well, without further ado, let's get this Portal 2 voice controlled playthrough into motion. The first map of Chapter 1, known as Container Ride, starts out with a decently long cutscene. Unlike in Portal 1 though, you do actually have to move around a bit in order to progress through the story. My first couple of tasks in this voice controlled playthrough was to look up towards the ceiling and down towards the floor.
When you hear the buzzer, look up at the ceiling.
Look up.
Good. You will hear a buzzer. When you hear the buzzer, look down at the floor.
Look down. Hey, it's like the voice control training, man. If you haven't watched my Portal 1 playthrough with voice commands, you'll notice that the best I can do when required to move the camera is to have Voice Attack slowly pan it in the direction I tell it to, until I instruct it to stop. And this is a major pain in the ass. More on that later. As a side note, you might have noticed that in the top right of the screen, I have the Voice Attack window visible. This way, you can see what the program thinks I'm saying through my microphone at all times. Remember this, and pay close attention to it in the future when it inevitably completely misunderstands every command I'm giving it. Anyways, to spare you the details, I continue through the map by following the announcer's instructions as intended. I return to my bed, and then soon after opens the door to meet this cool dude named Wheatley, and jumped a couple of times so that he would leave me alone and allow me to continue through the game. Admittedly though, these first few minutes of introduction were a nice way to get me used to this whole voice command thing again, after really having nothing to do with it for nearly a full year. Eventually, the intro sequence of the game came to a close, and I was finally able to get a move on. Straight. Straight.
There we go. Now I'll be honest,
Jump.
you are probably in no fit.
Stop.
Hello, and again, welcome to the Aperture Science Enrichment Center.
Standing here in this rundown relaxation vault, I was immediately confronted with flashbacks of the horror that was getting out of this place at the beginning of my Portal 1 challenge. But now, I had 7 hours of voice-controlled experience under my belt. Let's see how smoothly I'm able to get out of the vault this time around.
The portal will open, and emergency testing will begin in 3, 2, 1.
Oh shit, here we go again. Okay. Shiz, you did it before. You did Portal 1, you can get out of the vault again. Right. Back. Right. Straight. Right. Straight. Left. Straight. Look right. Well, that was definitely an improvement over last time. Things were already going very well. The next room was simple. This puzzle was just a copy of Chamber 0 from Portal 1 after all. So without any trouble, I went to go and grab the cube nearby the door using the classic crouch and grab strategy I invented during the Portal 1 challenge.
Button-based testing
Crouch.
this emergency. Don't worry. The odds of this happening twice
Crouch.
are very slim.
Are you kidding me? Wait, my crouch bind doesn't work? Stand. Hang on, I gotta fix this. And of course, having anything go well with this challenge was just too much of an ask, even this early into the game. My crouch voice command was broken, so I went and spent 3 minutes going in and fixing that. Great start, guys, seriously. But anyways, after I got that working, I performed my good old crouch and grab procedure with great success. Straight. Stop. Left. Stop. Use. Back. Left. Back. Stop. Use. I then got stuck on the ending door for good measure and went on to enter the first of many ending elevators of this challenge. That's it, man. Easy peasy, first map out of the way. With some technical difficulties along the way, but a lot better than Portal 1. Left. Straight. Next up was the second map of the game, Portal Carousel. Being the first actual puzzle with portals in the game, the complexity of what I needed to do to solve it was understandably minimal. Notably, this chamber introduces buttons that you need to activate by pressing the Use key. Normally, pressing these buttons is a no-brainer, but since you actually need to be looking in the general direction of these buttons to press them, it's pretty annoying trying to hit them with voice commands. For this reason, I made further use of crouching in order to line myself up to press them a little bit easier. And really, that's all this chamber was about. I crouched my way to victory to press buttons, grab cubes, and place them on buttons. Use. Look left. Stop look. Right. Stop. Straight. Left. Straight. Use. Back. Right. Stop. Crouch. Right. Stop. Stand. Straight. Left. Back. Right. Stop. Stand. Use. Crouch. Use. Look left. Stop. Stop look. Straight. Stand. I actually got through everything really smoothly. Sure, I may have crashed into some walls trying to move through a lot of these portals, but this was otherwise a walk in the park. Right, straight. Easy peasy. We then move on to Portal Gun. This map, as you might be able to guess, will be the first map where we can fire portals and actually make use of that primary fire button of ours. Naturally, after my success in the previous chamber, I started off the map with a true stroke of genius. Back,
You made it.
right,
There should
Straight,
be a portal
right.
device on that podium over there.
back, right.
I can't see it though.
Then I dropped down into the chasm below and slowly crawled up this spiral staircase using a combination of my look and move commands so that I could grab the portal gun. Now, all I had to do to proceed was fire a portal on one of the walls next to me and walk through it.
Miss.
God damn it. Why is it impossible to get up the ledge, man? Yeah, I can't really say I'm very surprised that walking through a portal happened to be the hardest part of the challenge so far, but I digress. Fucking finally, man. Oh my god. Despite the rough terrain, I proceeded through the rundown office area with relative ease given my prior voice control experience. I then prepared to fire a portal next to the exit door to finish the map. Right, stop, left, stop, look right, stop, look, left, stop, back, right, stop, look left, stop, look. It's just the same thing, right, back, left, stop, look right, stop, look right. Okay, so I think I've made my point. After a full minute of getting used to fighting this control scheme again, I did a ring around the rosy and finally got my blue portal above the door where I could then approach the ending elevator. Straight. Stand. Piece of cake. No sweat at all. Next we have Smooth Jazz, which is actually just a copy of Chambers 4 and 5 from Portal 1. Valve just got lazy, I guess. Regardless, since I'd already done this once before, I expected this to be no problem the second time around. The first room, the clone of Chamber 4, went nice and smoothly with the good old crouch and grab technique. As for the clone of Chamber 5, use. Left. Stop. Use. Dude, are you for real? Use. Left. Back. Stand. No fucking way, are you serious, man? After reflecting on that masterclass gameplay, I just had to make it through the weirdly constructed final room of the map. I got caught on a lot of the crooked geometry and got pretty confused on what the hell was going on when none of my jumps were coming out, but although it was a sloppy job, I managed to eventually get through and proceed to the next chamber. The fifth map of the game is called Cube Momentum. This was actually the first puzzle in which I had to really think about what I was doing, which was a sign of the increasing difficulty up to this point. The first challenge was firing a portal under this cube, but I'll save you the full minute of monotony there. Then came the interesting part. After climbing this staircase, I had to figure out how to press these two buttons in quick succession in order to complete the puzzle. Look right. Stop look. Crouch. Save. Left. Stop. Stand. Save. Use. Right. Use. Fuck. Look left. Stop look. Look right. Stop look. Save. Use. Right. Use. Load. Use. Right. Use. No. Crouch. Use. Right. Use. Stop. Okay, perfect. Stop. Crouch. Right. Stop. Back. Stop. Use.
Well done.
And whammo! That was it for Cube Momentum. Overall, that was definitely the most challenging chamber so far, given the restrictions of my voice commands, but it is Chapter 1 after all, so that isn't really saying much. Easy money! That was a fun one. Here we are now at Future Starter, which I would call the last real puzzle of Chapter 1. This chamber introduces momentum-based flings. I know I sound like a broken record already, but Portal 1 done voice controlled gave me a lot of experience with how I should approach these types of tests. The idea is to pre-place my portals when possible to easily fall into them, although this isn't always possible. Regardless of the situation, I should always look directly down into my portals to activate portal funneling, which is an in-game mechanic that steers you into your floor portals so that falling through them is a lot easier. So that's exactly what I did in this first room here to reach the ledge with the cube. I then immediately erased all my progress. I don't know, I figured it was fun the first time, why not do it a second time? When I got back to the ledge, I shot under the cube to move it, only to have to go on a scavenger hunt to find it. Oh, that's real nice. In the most inconvenient spot. I then spent a good minute setting myself up to fling with the cube, but the strategy to do so was basically the same. Then, bada bing bada boom, I used the cube procedure for the end of this room, and I was on to the next part of the chamber. Honestly, this room was very similar to the previous one, so for the sake of brevity, I'll just pick out some of the highlights. For one, Voice Attack thinks that fathers are overpowered, so happy late Father's Day, guys. And secondly, I had a lot of fun falling into the orange portal in this room so I could fling across. And that was it for Future Starter. Overall, I can't say the room was too difficult, just kinda time consuming. It could have went a lot worse for sure. Let's move onwards. Now we've reached Secret Panel, which is basically just a big cutscene map, so I really don't have much to discuss. My job boiled down to simply looking over at Wheatley to initiate his dialogue and firing a portal across the room to get over to him. Then, he fell down from his management rail, and you guessed it. Crouch and grab, crouch and grab, crouch and grab comes to the rescue. But yup, after that, it was just walking on the catwalks to get to the next map of the playthrough, called Wakeup. And Wakeup is just yet another cutscene map. All I had to worry about was moving around the awkward terrain of the ground and getting down to the breaker room to progress the story. So, you know how it goes, GLaDOS wakes up, has no problem remembering who we are considering we had to load 256 quick saves to defeat her in the last game, and then kills Wheatley using only 2% of her power. She then throws us into the Incinerator so that we could play the final map of Chapter 1, very cleverly titled Incinerator. And this is yet another map that kind of just acts as a way to progress the story. So all I needed to do to complete Chapter 1 here was just get from point A to point B and reach the ending elevator. You can actually die at the start of the map here, so I had to be careful not to fall down into the fiery pit of death. Unfortunately for you guys, I'm not really a daring guy, so I kind of just crouched my way across the treacherous floor, but eventually I made it across and acquired the dual portal gun, meaning we can now fire both blue and orange portals, which means more aiming using voice commands, yay! And to top it all off, just when I thought the rest of the chamber would be a piece of cake, it was actually an absolute disaster. Jump. 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 Oh my god, my jump is broken too. Back? Left.
I might take up a hobby. Reanimating the dead, maybe.
Let's go, man. Chapter 1 of Portal 2 done with voice commands. And there we have it. After a year of being off the mic, I was back into the swing of things, and I had completed 9 out of the 62 maps in the whole game. Sure, I had barely made a dent so far, but still, I had to start somewhere, and for the most part, this chapter wasn't even that bad at all, only taking me a little under an hour. It seems as if I've really retained a lot of the skills I had built up from my Portal 1 voice-controlled playthrough, despite how long it had been since then. But don't worry, because we still have plenty of Portal 2 left to get through, and I guarantee it won't stay easy for too much longer.